What's up, everyone? It's Mitch from the Two Guys in a Dart podcast, and I am joined by Bobby, the only guy I know who thinks about chili dogs while he's hanging out at your mom's house.
You damn right. And speaking of things I like to do on Sundays, nothing beats a brand new episode of Two Guys in a Dart.
Oh, tell me more, Daddy.
We sit down, discuss life, pop culture, entertainment, and much, much more.
So join us weekly as we take to the open road with a turkey burger and some cabbage rolls, right here on the Two Guys in a Dart podcast.
This is Dome from Dad's on Dayquil, and you're listening to the Bleach Brothers podcast.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is B-Word, and as usual, I am here with my nemesis, Jacob.
I'm eating a donut. I love donuts.
Why do you love donuts, Jake?
They're the best. They're circular. They're eternal. They taste good.
So this episode's actually going to come out after this takes place, so I'm pretty happy about that. But there's actually a local business owner in town who started a business called Pound Cakes. And Jake, I feel like you would like this one. This is they make penis-shaped donuts and vagina-shaped donuts, and they're dipped in different dippings, and they have toppings and like cereals and all this sort of stuff. And I actually just bought a dozen donuts for some buddies tomorrow.
I like pubes, so I hope the pubes are sprinkles.
I don't know, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you what, I will share the video she sent me after delivery. If you could dip a donut in any sort of topping, what would you dip it in? It doesn't matter the shape of the donut, the type of the donut. What's your favorite donut flavor?
I love a raspberry filled donut, but I love chocolate too.
Okay.
So
You go for regular donuts or you go for the elongated, whatever those are called?
raised donuts.
What is a raised donut?
You got to deep fry them.
Oh.
You have to deep fry them. Like they're not baked. They're not cake donuts. You deep fry them. That's why they have that line between them, as the chef will talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why there's that like you know, like when you have the brown and that little like yellow
Mm-hmm.
whatever white line between, that's where you flip the donut.
Oh, gotcha.
That's the best kind of donut right there.
You are the expert when it comes into food, aka Chef Jake. And we have a guest today. Our guest is actually a creator, and I'm actually very excited to listen to her tonight. Corissa, you are one half, if I'm correct, of the creators of a comic book called Redemption. Am I correct on all of that?
An amazing comic book. Hold on. Stop. Because you sent me a link. It's fucking good. It's really fucking good. The artistry's great. The chemistry's great. The story is great. So B-Word, introduce this better.
Okay.
Please stop. Just like Vagina Donuts. Introduce this better.
Let me back up. If you like story arcs like Resident Evil, or if you like the paper version, the comic book version of The Walking Dead, or you're interested...
If you like how you feel at the end of Coming.
Yes.
Like you'll feel good.
You like
you
orgasms.
feel good. There is an orgasmic feeling when you read that. No, I'm not bullshitting. You know the meme,
right?
Because I hate everything. So, but it's the point. It was good. It was really good. The artistry's good.
Very well done.
You did a very good job. I love the story. I like what you're doing. So, introduce her, B-Word. I have to keep interrupting, but you know that's what Splooge does.
So, continuing the better introduction for the newest comic that we have come across that has turned out to be a stellar production called Redemption. One half of the creators, Corissa Grant, is here with us tonight. How are you?
I'm better now. That's quite an introduction.
Did you splooge?
Yeah, almost. I was at the
Oh, yeah. B-Word! I did it!
Finally, Jake made somebody splooge. After 38 years, we're finally there. So, Corissa, tell us a little bit about your project. I know that we butchered the intro, but talk to us a little bit about your motivation. What is the project? Where can the project be found? That sort of stuff.
I don't know. That was I don't think you botched that at all. That was great. I mean, vagina and penis donuts, and then my story. I mean, it's all you need.
Your story is the topping on the penis and the vagina donuts.
The penis donuts. We love them.
That's a great combo right there. I started as a role player 17 years ago. I RP'd as Claire Redfield from Resident Evil 2. And I started as a one-liner because I'm dyslexic, and I built up over the years to 6,000 word replies. And I had this story idea that I held for 11 years about an angelic weapon, and everyone wanted to do it, but I just didn't feel right. And then I met my co-writer Jessica on a role-playing site, and literally the day after I met her, I said, you want to take a role? And she said, I never take roles, but yeah, I want it. So I sent her a really long, I don't know, at least 4,000 word starter. She loved it, and for 2 years straight, and we're still writing, but 2 years straight, we wrote this series, and we wrote 11 novels, and 5 of those novels. Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I added it up 3 days ago, and we're 10,000 words away from 1 million words. So almost there.
Wow.
And considering I just wrote 5,000 words yesterday and 10,000 words last week, this shouldn't take long. So 5 of those novels is this series. And it's about 45 issues already written. So series 1 for Redemption is completed. We're just now releasing it. I started the comic book 6 months ago. And we're releasing issue 5 this month. June 20th through the 17th, we're going to have the Kickstarter where you can buy it. Easiest way to find us is search Worthy Chaos, because we're the only thing that pops up. But what makes us unique is, besides the story, it's 45 issues and already written. The story is written by, like I said, 2 completely different people. But since we are role players, the characters are written by 2 completely different people. So I write for the Angel Descendant, Serafina, who I write all her actions and her words and her thoughts and all that stuff. And my co-writer does Draven, and he thinks a lot more. Are the characters, you can tell, you get these 2 unique personalities. Yes. And that we're completely different. Like, my character, you could tell, is like me. She can talk nonstop. She doesn't think that much. She just kind of like and then Jake. I like Jake already. So then you have Draven.
Fuck you.
He's saying Draven, that to me, by the way.
I know. So you have Draven, who thinks more, and you could see conflicting feelings he has and all these thoughts and everything. So you get those personalities.
Well, it's nice to, sorry to interrupt you. It's nice to hear that, though, because when you read it, you feel like there's 2 people writing it, almost like, in the sense of, like, it's written like me and B-Word when we talk in the show. Like, I can only write my own parts. He can only write his own parts. And that is comforting, because I don't know if you probably read a lot of graphic novels like I do and B-Word does. And it's the sense that sometimes you feel it's almost droll.
Yep.
It's like, oh, I could tell one guy wrote this and he's like, I really feel for you. And yes, I feel for you too. You get what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to dumb it down that much, but there are points.
Yeah.
Right. Your mindset goes to, one person wrote this. That's all how I feel. But I do understand, as a fan point sense, that we never look at the names at the bottom of a book.
Yeah.
Like, we look at 2 things. We go, who drew it? Who wrote it? And we look for 2 names. And when you see multiple names and multiple things on something, you never really think of the thought process behind that. And I'm very interested and I know you're explaining it, but I would love more compounding thoughts on that, of how you guys go about every little aspect of this series you're doing.
I will tell you. So people are like, "Oh, you must argue all the time." We do not. We are on the same wavelength. We've been calling each other soul writers since the day we started talking. We just get closer and closer, and we really just. So she never knows what I'm going to write. I might get too excited with an idea and tell her, like, I had an idea for this. I'm working on the ending of the spinoff, because we have 5 novels already written for the spinoff. So I'm writing the ending, and I couldn't wait to tell her what happens in the maze. So she wasn't as shocked. But usually she doesn't know exactly what I'm going to write. I half the time have no idea what I'm going to write. I sit down and I write, and I have no idea what's going to happen. And then we kind of go from there. We've never really planned anything. Sometimes we'll have a dream and we'll be like, oh, we got to play this out. But generally we just write. And mostly we say the characters in our head are writing it and they control it. And we have argued with them while we're writing. So it's quite possible that we're just vessels for our characters. But the story is just, this was not intentional. Like I'm in a group and they were like, I can't believe you wrote 45 issues. And I was like, this was not on purpose. You know, I did not I did not plan to write a comic book. I didn't plan to write in general. I literally woke up and I was like, did you know we have 5 novels or 11 novels written? It's kind of a waste not to do anything with it. And I was like, I have no talent ever, but apparently I'm a good storyteller. And I feel like this is a good story to tell. I feel like people would want to read this, but, we had an editor and they're like, the only way to make this into a novel or whatever is to mash it together and combine it. And then they said, oh, you'll probably be popular. And I was like, I will not I don't want any money to ruin my story. I'd rather not make a dime off of it and keep it whole. So, because the word love is not strong enough for what we feel for this story. We are addicted to the obsession. It's just something we are very passionate about. And everyone says that.
I love the word hate, though.
Yeah.
Hate is better than love.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you. Hate is a more powerful movement, but continue. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. So I hate not writing the story then. But
Perfect.
So we decided that we weren't going to do anything with it. I told her, listen, I'll just print it on like lulus.com in a novel form and we'll have a copy each and we'll just read, because we always read our stories. I said, I'm going to get a cover artist to do our cover and we'll have our characters on it and then we could just read our story whenever. So I'm in the middle of looking for these artists and I said to her, these are really kind of cartoony. Now we're role players, so we had actors in mind when we were writing. So I said, do you want cartoony? Should I keep looking for realistic? She's like, no, cartoony's fine. And a light bulb went off. And I was like, well, if you don't mind cartoony, what about a comic book? And she's like, well, shit. Yeah. So I hired an artist that day. And then I went to bed and I'm writing to her. And I said, I have no idea how to do a script. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I paid the artist. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So she said, you'll figure it out. I woke up the next day. I watched a YouTube video for 20 minutes and I wrote a script and I sent it to, back then, this is an older version. I sent it to a letter and the letter is like, would you like to see any of the art or just dialogue? And I was like, oh, all right, fair enough. So my first script was 2. So I cut it in half and now I had 2 scripts. So dialogue was quite interesting to figure that one out. But I didn't take much out of the story. I pretty much included everything. Everyone loves the dialogue, and everyone said dialogue is the hardest part of comics, which we didn't experience because we didn't write it like that. We just wrote it like a novel. So it was a lot easier to do.
Well, that's a good point you make, because my question to you, do you feel with a graphic novel or comics or, whatever, do you feel the artistry is more important than the story, or the story is more important than artistry? Because there are times I've read comics where I'm like, I just love the way it's drawn.
Right.
But there are other times like, this story is enveloping me, but I might as well have read a book. And what's the contrast for you?
Yeah, I mean, see, a lot of times, and I've learned this by doing researching now, is that sometimes when they write comics, they don't have any art in mind when they're writing it, and sometimes they do in reverse, and they have the pictures first, and then they do the dialogue, which I didn't know. It depends on the artist, the publisher. I guess Marvel did it both ways, from what I heard. So sometimes they don't even know what they're doing when they're drawing or writing it or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of empty bubble art
Yeah.
with the scene drawn first, but not to interrupt you, but it is weird how that contrast happens.
Yeah.
It's like there are some people that write like a movie or whatever going, I have somebody in mind. I have a scene in mind. This is how it'll act out. And then there's other people going, I'm going to write a story and draw around it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like when you're writing, what are you doing? Are you doing like you want a scene to be drawn around you or written around you?
So originally when I used to write, I pictured it as a movie in my head. So I would write it as a movie, but not as a script, but I would write it like I'm watching the movie and I write down what I saw. So to me, it's, now when I'm writing, I see everything in panels. So it's a little like my mind automatically converts it to panels, which is great because I feel like I'm adding to the story as I go. But our story is definitely written and drawn around it. My artist is absolutely amazing. Jonas DaCosta is the second best thing to ever happen to me, comic book wise. Obviously, my co-writer is my first one. Jonas DaCosta has never had a paid job comic wise before. This is his first paid comic gig. And it made him part of the team because none of us knew what we were doing. So we still don't really know what we're doing. We're trying. But he's part of the team. He's obsessed with the story like we are. He went away for 30 days and 2 weeks in, he's like, I miss drawing the story. I can't wait to get back and do it. He's like, it's all I think about. I was like, welcome to my world. So it's really great to have that kind of, he's not just a paid, artist. He's actually, part of it. And he'll give suggestions. Obviously it's already written, so you can't really suggest the story wise, but he could suggest, the kind of panels and whatever. Generally I give him a lot of freedom with the panels. I actually cut my story, not the story, but the scripts in half for him because he's so good with panel art and scenery and story that I just do 3 panels instead of 6 and then he turns it into whatever. So it's one of the reasons the story's a little longer, but it's also the reason why the pages look so freaking phenomenal,
It's beautiful when you start talking about the creation of art, because whether it be a written work like what you're working with, or a visual art like your artist is doing, or even with music, sometimes the inspiration comes from a number of different places. It can come from things that you've read, or that you've come across, whether it be visually or auditorily. And I know I recently watched a documentary where a musician was basically just talking with another musician, and they just started playing chords on a guitar, and one of them was strumming the guitar, the other one was humming, and it turned into an amazing piece that they ended up releasing. And this is a major artist that we're talking about in the world today. When it comes to creating this, obviously you're writing for one character more or less, and then your co-author is writing for another character more or less, but there's a full-on story that is happening around this. How do you guys touch base with being able to make sure that you're on the same page and that you're working toward that common story, almost like, and kind of a similar thing, the directors of individual movies within the MCU, as an example, they have to work toward this overarching Marvel goal. And so when it comes to the written work, how do you guys kind of partner that a little bit?
So I'm the storyteller. And what it means is I tell the story and then I'll do like a chapter, and then she goes back and writes her character's reaction to that story. So she adds in all the speech that would have been whatever he would have said to my character at the time, any interactions he does. Now, we've been doing this it's actually not that long if you think about it. It's been 2.5 years. But we know our other characters so well that during my storytelling, I pretty much know how he's going to react to things. So I can kind of, preempt of like, if something's coming, like, I don't know, something's about to hit her, I know he's going to knock her out of the way. But I always say to her, like, so I'm writing a maze scene in a cave, and he's carrying her body because very complicated. Anyway, she touched a device that separates her spirit from her body so that she can find her way through the maze. It's kind of like a fail-safe that you get through the maze, and you can only do it if you're this. And it was like, I had this whole riddle about only the truest soul can do it, and all this stuff. So anyway, so he's carrying her body, and when they're all the way in, there's a timetable, and the little hourglass is going, and they only have an hour to get to the center. And as soon as you get to the center, for whatever reason, I decided she ran out of time and she disappears. So I said to her, I'm pretty sure he will eventually put her body down and fight the demon in there. Or do you think he'd fight with it? But he'd put her down, right? He's just like, yes, he'd put her down and he'd go dark because that's what happens. So I was like, all right, that's what I thought. We'll go from there. So I write that he put her down and that he went to go fight. I don't write the fight scenes that she does. I write what my character does around that fight scene and how she's in the underworld and has her conversation and then comes back. So I write all that. And then when she goes back and writes it, she's going to write all the reactions to it, all his emotions, all his thoughts and feelings, and then how the fight went and what he did during that. It hasn't happened yet, but I always tell her if there's any changes you need or something you think he wouldn't have done, then I can change it, on my end and fix it. But so far, it kind of just, smoothly goes. We just kind of know what the other one's thinking, and half the time we're thinking the same thing. So we torture our characters.
I'm happy somebody found the clit and everybody's happy. I am who I am. Because I was going to say, you got me excited when you said role play, and there's multiple reasons. But when I was in college, I was a big D&D guy. But my main game of Source was Rifts, and I don't know if you're familiar with that book series, but it was like D&D, but it was just book based. What is your inspiration behind what you guys do with I mean, you've said role playing, but is there something that made you get into this?
Two things. What made me get into role playing was Resident Evil 2. I was so obsessed with it. I'm going to tell you how mentally messed up my head is. I was watching a commercial in the 90s or whatever, and I saw the crocodile come out to get Leon in the sewer. That is the only part of the commercial I remember. And whatever reason, I went out and bought PlayStation 1 as a teenager, rented that game, and tried to play it, which, by the way, I couldn't do because there was no instructions and Leon kept just walking into the fire. So, I threw...
That's a game. That's a hard fucking game.
Yeah. So I threw the controller and my freaking Zelda playing brother comes in and picks it up and starts playing. And, of course, I get mad and kick him out. And I'm like, all right, I could do this. So I start playing, loved it, returned it, went and bought it. Mad that there's an auto aim after I played it for 5 days straight. But I was obsessed with it. And then I went to watch the movie Stay Alive a couple of years later. And when I got home, I was researching the true part of Elizabeth Bathory because that's what I do. And for whatever reason, I stumbled upon MySpace. And yes, I'm aging myself very much here. But they're role playing.
We're in the same sector. We're all good.
So
yeah, we were on each other's top 8. Don't worry about it.
Aw. So I was researching and found them on MySpace, and I said, how are you allowed to use their picture for these actors while you're playing these characters on Stay Alive? And she's like, it's role playing. You just pick a character you want to be and you be it. So I'm looking around the room and I have a giant cutout of Leon from Resident Evil 4. And I'm like, well, shit, I would love to be Claire Redfield because I always wanted Leon. So I was like, all right. So I made a Claire Redfield and I just never stopped. So it was Resident Evil. And then when Supernatural came out, it was Supernatural and Resident Evil merged together in some weird mesh up in Silent Hill, all added together.
I'm a secret Supernatural fan, so I feel for you on that.
Oh, you have to read my issue 4. They steal baby from a bar.
Follow up to that, though. Let's get sexual. If you have to cosplay for your SO, what are you cosplaying as and why? Roll a 12 die. Get it deep, get it wet, do whatever you need to do. But what are you cosplaying as?
Oh, what have I done or what would I do? Because those are two completely...
I would like both. I like everything. I am all about all of it. So
I just want to be clear
I'm
if this
so
is
happy.
borderlining sexual, harassment or anything.
It's all
Jake
sexual.
the hater
Just
is,
get it sexual.
Is at fault
get
here.
B
word is not. However, if you're not offended, we both like this question. So go ahead and move forward.
So I have role played mostly as cops and French maids, mostly. Anime girl here and there. I don't know if you've ever seen Lotus War. It's an old...
Oh, yes. Yes.
I dressed up as Deetlit. So I had the ears and the outfit and all that fun stuff. And of course,
You can cuff me, feather me, do whatever the fuck you want.
have-
I'm like I'll roll a 2-sided die, and I'm willing to die.
I have
I'm willing to
feathers,
roulette that shit.
chocolate sauce. Don't ever use edible paint. It does not come off. So
Wait. Where does edible paint not come off of? What body part?
all of it. My skin was covered in this freaking blue, red, this messed up. I was like in the tub trying to scrub it. I'm like, what the good thing I didn't put it on my face, because I'd go to work to be like, ignore all that. So yeah.
As long as you didn't complain about your nipples, we're all good.
No. Oh, and Kagome. I don't know if you watch Inuyasha, but I used to dress up as Kagome.
You just excited Jake.
I see
you
that.
just excited Jake.
Yeah. So there you go.
So for those of you that are wondering exactly what's going on, Jake's eyes got the biggest that I think I've ever seen.
Bigger than my boner.
And his mouth was exactly as he smiles. It was crazy. Well, Carissa, what we're gonna do?
Well, I was gonna say I went to.
Wait, did you say doer?
No. I went to anime conventions before other girls did, so I had a lot of guys following after me back in the day. So I missed those days. Those were good days.
Okay, let's talk about the other bad part of that. Let's be honest. Like there are something that we all love. We all love that, like, you know, fantasy and that world. What's the worst part of cosplaying at an event?
I think the worst part is the ones that take it a little too far, you know, like they'll follow you around, and taking your picture's fine, but taking your video nonstop, or, you know, thinking that you're actually that character, not understanding that you're not actually that character, that might be a little odd. Back then, I mean, I would go with I think I was in a hotel room with like 9 guys, but obviously none of them took a play, so it was like, yeah, a bunch of losers. I did love them all. I don't know where my mom was in all this.
I love this so much.
So I don't know, but anyway, so I went as Dietlit, Kagome, and all that fun stuff, and I would say 99% of the guys there are cool, and then you have that one creepy guy that you probably
and then the 9 guys in the room that suck.
Yeah.
They were rolling 12-sided die trying all night, and they fucking failed. Yeah. We know.
Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah.
Well, Carissa, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back. Bleach Bros podcast is proud to align itself with Jerky Pro, a beef jerky manufacturer established by military and paramilitary veterans.
Available in 3-ounce or 1-pound bags with great flavors such as honey glazed, teriyaki, red hot, apple cinnamon, original, peppered, sweet barbecue, and if you're ballsy enough, nuclear.
Be sure to use our promo code to get some of the best jerky on the market. Use Bleach Bros 5, all lowercase, to take advantage of this offer today.
My dick is hard. I'm here. Everybody's here. There's only 2 guys in the room this time with Carissa. We love her. Great
She's
graphic
awesome.
novel. Great story. We didn't roll any die, though. We don't know if we're going to die by rolling die. But B-Word, I want to ask you a question. If you could cosplay as anybody besides Barf, because you are one of the most amazing Barfs I've ever seen from fucking Spaceballs. You look just like him. I wish I could be your what is he called? What's his teammate?
Lone Star.
Lone Star. I wish I could be your Lone Star.
Who
else would you cosplay as at an event to get the ladies going?
I would love for you and I to go as Bebop and Rocksteady.
I think that would be cool, but who am I?
Bebop.
I think that you could be Bebop.
I like that she says Bebop. I look like a mohawk motherfucker, don't I?
You do.
I look like the guy that deserves a pink mohawk, and I'm just a degenerate in life. And you're walking around with a horn boner on your face.
I meant it the best way possible.
I know. Everybody wants B-Word to have a horn boner on his face. Robert the Bear does too. But regardless of that, let's get into a few other things on the show. I wanted to ask you this last part: coloration of your comic, your graphic novel. You're the storytellers. You have the artists that you work with. Do you guys also do the coloration, or does that also outsourced? Or how does that work?
Jonas DeCosta does the outlining, the penciling, the colors, the lettering. He does it all. I can't
He
even
is
explain how lucky.
outstanding.
Yeah,
He's outstanding.
I can't even tell you how lucky I got in this situation. And he's severely underpaid. So I need Kickstarters to make more money so I can pay him more.
To our fellow listeners, that's actually a good time to plug the Kickstarter. What I need you guys to do after you're done listening to this episode is I need you to Google Worthy Chaos Redemption. And what'll pop up is a Kickstarter for Worthy Chaos Redemption, a horror adventure for comics 1 through 3. And there's some options on there for you to go ahead and support this indie
Actually,
comic book.
1 through 5 now, just to.
There's 1 through 5 now. My bad. So with that, I think it's very, very important that we support the indie community. And the reason why is because we know that the Marvels and the DCs and the Dark Horse, they've got their customers. They've got their clientele. They're going to keep coming back regardless of the storyline. However, indie creators like yourself are breaking barriers. You guys are actually doing some things with the storyline that is pretty unique. For instance, you've actually introduced a brand new type of vampire called Clotter. Can you kind of tell us about that?
So issue 4 introduced them at the very end, but you really get more of them in 5, and then in 6 you're overrun with them. But yes, our Clotters are. So I never liked vampires that bled in movies because their heart's not supposed to be beating, and I'm stickler for stupid details. So I made mine Clotters where their heart beats every 6 hours, which is just enough to keep off rigor mortis. It makes their blood thicker, which makes them stronger. But it also gives them the ability that once they taste your blood, they can track you anywhere like a homing beacon. And if you kill one of them, the entire family will come after you and not stop until they get you. And there's nothing you can really do about it because you can't really hide. So that happens in this. Other little details is if they don't feed directly from a human, then they start to decompose just like a vampire. I mean, just like a zombie. So you kind of see some of them, their faces will be kind of messed up or whatever. And it kind of is. So I've done a lot of research on the lore, and ours follows traditionally the old way. Like, you can't stake them because, it doesn't really do anything. Unless it's like near the 6 hour mark. But traditionally.
Do they like Italian food?
Do they? Yeah, they'll eat. They have no problems with garlic. They have no problems with the sun. Yeah, sorry. Traditionally, the vampires didn't care about the sun. They didn't in the original myths, they did not burn up in the sun. They just didn't like it because they're shadow creatures. So ours generally stay to the dark, but they don't have to per se. So and so you have that. So the only way to really kill them is fire, which will take a while, or decapitation is the absolute best way. So machetes all around. So pretty much that's what they do is they decapitate them and try to burn the place down at the end and all that fun stuff. So, yeah.
So I remember when I was a kid and my dad, I don't remember if it was my birthday or Christmas, he actually purchased a book where I was drawn into it, and it was a G.I. Joe book. Now, at the time, I was actually a G.I. Joe in this book, and they came to me for help, and we had to fight off all the bad guys. And I remember that I was so fucking excited by this book because I'm in the story, right? Like, it was the most amazing thing. And you guys are also doing that as well with your story, where people have the opportunity to be drawn in. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that too?
Yes. So I had this thought for whatever my thoughts come from. And I thought it would be, because I would love to be drawn into it, I thought that someone would like to be drawn into our comic book. And the last one, they were allowed to be drawn in as a vampire, and they get to choose either decapitation or fire. And 3 people did it, and it turned out amazing because my artist used to do portraits. That's what he did before I dragged him into comic books. So we decided this time to do zombies, and they could either choose to stagger on, or they could choose their demise per se. They can also choose their clothes and their picture and whatever else they want to do. And it's not that much. We only charge $99 for it. And not only it'll be issue 8, but they will get it like 3 months early. They'll look at the PDF 3 months early before anybody else will even get anything. so they'll get to read it ahead. They get to see themselves and all that stuff. So that is going to be probably the best tier in there. I mean, we have a lot of weird tiers because I like weird stuff, but we have plushies and pillows and 3D statues and homemade and handmade clay statues. We have a song that was written just for our characters, and we have that as a download. The lyrics are based on our characters, and you can read the lyrics on the Kickstarter page. I think the download's like, I don't know, $4 or $3, and you get both the vocal version and the instrumental version. And all our PDFs are black and white and color. You get both for like $5. So
awesome. I think it's super important to support indie creators. I mean, we're an indie podcast. We're a part of the indie podcast community. I love it when people support us. But likewise, it's super important if somebody is a comic book fan, a graphic novel fan, a good storytelling fan, or listening to a good story, give these a chance. Give them a little bit of time, a little bit of money. It doesn't cost a whole bunch, but make sure to support them. I recently supported a indie comic book that came out last year. It's called Isom. It's done by Ripaverse Comics, and one of the things that I really liked is the artwork on it, but also the storyline was unique. It was a great storyline, and I think that I'm finding that with Worthy Chaos, and I'm finding that specifically with Redemption, and I'm excited to see what you were coming out with. To transition to that, from that to for a little bit, Corissa, Jake and I have a list of some of our favorite graphic novels. Now, you started out and you said that you have an absolute favorite graphic novel. Can you kind of talk about what that is and also something unique that you were actually able to get?
The Crow from I got it in 1993. I used to draw from it, which I'm surprised I wasn't locked in a rubber room because I did all these dark pictures and everything from it. But that was my absolute favorite, and I actually pulled it out when that did not come out right, but I actually took out the graphic novel when I started my scripts to have it next to me while I was working on it. And this past weekend, I got to meet James O'Barr, and he not only signed my book, he actually took one of my issue 1s and asked if he can keep it, and I was like, more than anything in the world, yes. And so I'm excited. I don't know if he's actually going to read it, but just the mere thought that he has the ability to read it has made my entire, year. So.
Jake, some of the best comic books that you've had that have gone to film, what are those on your list?
Gone to film or that I wish went to film? Because there's a difference.
Well, I wrote down got to film, but if you have one that you wish went to film, go ahead with that.
Well, so there's one that actually went to film that I'm so disappointed. I think it's so fucking terrible, and everybody's going to hate me for it. But V for Vendetta was so garbage of a film.
Yeah.
But the graphic novel is so fucking good. And you could have done it so well. That's one of them. The other one, I guess, is like Sin City. Not that Sin City's bad. The sequel's terrible. Mm-hmm. But there's so many storylines you could have followed to make better.
Yep.
But I mean, I would like to know from you guys. I mean, B-Word, you can answer your own question. But after that, like, what graphic novels would you love to see made into a film that you think would just be like fucking stellar that they have not done yet?
So one of my favorite graphic novels is Miles Morales Straight Outta Brooklyn. And I know that that's kind of cheating because we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and we're dealing with all of this sort of stuff right now. And so Miles Morales is starting to take limelight. But in an actual film, live action film, I would love to see that, or at least portions of that, be on the big screen. I think that would be really good. I think that Hellboy was another one that like the movie was okay, but I want to see Hellboy done right. I think that would be really good. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, they really missed the mark with the film. And I would love to see a remake of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, potentially down the road. I don't want it right now, where they actually do the story arc a little bit better. But candidly, this really isn't a graphic novel. This is more of a comic book. I will say that there are there are really two story arcs that I think are done well on screen that were okay as comics or okay as graphic novels. One of them is The Boys. The Boys TV show is far greater than anything that's been written on The Boys as far as comic books. I love the TV show. They've gone a completely different direction. They've been able to create characters on there that are original. Jake, you're looking like you're going to argue with me, but the fact of the matter is that The Boys is done very, very well. And unlike, I guess probably.
Yeah, I love well vagina and fucking sucking.
Yeah, no, I
moments.
do like
You're
that
right.
actually. And the other one that I think was done well, and I can't say it was better than the graphic novel, was The Killing Joke, the animated version. I think, but it was basically just The Killing Joke. I mean, they just kept to the storyline. So with that, I think that those are the ones that I think I'm appreciative of. But again, I think that Hollywood has a little bit more to do when it comes to some of the graphic novels, the story arcs that come to light.
Carissa, what's a character or a graphic novel or anything you want to see come to light?
How about Redemption?
If I had my choice of movie or show or whatever, I would want mine to be a rated R animated series, to be honest with you.
That'd be good.
That would be my favorite. I would like to see Ghost Rider done again. Ghost Rider was my favorite comic book in the 90s. I absolutely loved Danny. I started at like issue 7 and went all the way through the 90s and Spirits of Vengeance and all that. I still have all of them over here. So it's not, I mean, I know Nicolas Cage had a huge passion for it. I just think it could have been done a lot better. Yeah, exactly.
Come on the face moment. Yeah, you're right.
So that was my favorite. Also, I know he's around in TV, but Nightwing was my second favorite character. So I would really like a really good Nightwing movie with probably with him fighting with Batman or something, or because there's so many good story arcs in the comics that I read, and I followed Dick Grayson from the 60s comics to Teen Titans to Nightwing to everything. So he's just such a awesome character, and I don't know.
Well, it's cool you say that because one of my favorite characters of all time is Raven from Teen Titans. And I would love that graphic
novel. You missed all the hot freaking cosplayers of Raven like 2 weeks ago here. They just...
I need to visit all of them.
It was Nashville, and I told each one of them that they looked absolutely gorgeous. There's at least 3 or 4 really good ones. But yeah, I was just thinking how hot they looked, and I flat out go and tell them. So, I'm not
now. I mean, I don't even know if I need to finish my list, but I'll finish now in my pants, and then I'll tell you. Usagi is the other one. I've always been the biggest fan of Usagi. I love his character style. I love that Magna. I love when he was in the Ninja Turtles, but that fucking rabbit, that Ninja Rabbit needs a series of some sort to give me something. We have the technology. We can create him. We can make this work. Fucking do it, people. Why are we waiting? I guess the last one would be Through the Woods. I don't know if you guys know much about that.
I do not.
A great fucking graphic novel series. If you have a chance to go read it, Through the Woods is fucking phenomenal. And I have one more, but I do not want to say it. Because what I want to do is reintroduce something we have not done a long time on the show, B-Word. And that is the Everlasting Bookshelf. And Carissa... fans for our show know that we do an everlasting segment. And what that means is we put something on a bookshelf, in a jukebox, in a console, in a DVD player, whatever. But we take things of art, great masterpieces, whether it's a book, whether it's a video game, whether it's a movie, whether it's a song, and we put them on the shelf. So for tonight, the Everlasting Bookshelf, what are the top 5 graphic novels of your lifetime that you would love to put up there forever for other people to read?
Obviously The Crow. I don't even know if you know this anime, but there's an anime called 3x3 Eyes.
Fuck yes, I do.
That was like, I have the graphic novels here, and it just, I love that. I also love, obviously, Inuyasha. Most of mine's going to be anime. Inuyasha, I loved, I just had it in my brain and then it went away. Fishuga Yugi is another one, but that's not as popular as some people know. What the hell? Oh, Mermaid. Did you ever? I don't know if you ever seen Mermaid's Forest. But I really like that one. It's from the same people that did Inuyasha. So that one, and I lost how many I've done. 4. Let's see, one more. Another anime people don't really know is Blue Seed, but I really, really liked it. So
Blue Seed. Mind you, I like Blue Seed, but I love Blue Gender better.
Yeah.
And I know they're not related, but it was one of those things like, I heard the... I got excited.
He heard
by
blue.
Just hearing
Yeah,
blue.
yeah.
He heard blue.
Yeah.
He's simple.
And then I know B Word has blue balls. So I feel we're all
is
in a
that
full
where the
fucking
B
circle.
word comes from? I don't even know what the B word is.
Exactly.
It does.
Yeah, it's
it
just
does.
blue balls
it's
for life.
Blue balls word. That's my full name. So Jake, I'm going to throw this over to you. Best graphic novels. I know that you have them probably in order because you're like Sheldon and you like things very orderly. So give them to me. Give them to me while your mic is on.
Thought I clicked the button. I suck. From Hell, 1989. Great graphic novel about a murder. Amazing. New X-Men, God Country, Watchmen, which Watchmen's one of those things. Like, it's like everybody says it, everybody loves it, everybody hates it at the same time. The movie could have been better, even though I fucking adore it. But my number one of all time, and people might hate me for this, and I don't care, but I love the Mouse Guard series. And here's why. There are some things that come through your life where they compel you for no reason. And the artistry behind it. And a lot of people might not have ever heard of Mouse Guard. And it's a short, like 5-volume series from what I know of. But the way it's drawn and the simplistic storytelling without words is so fucking good. Watching 3 mice battle a fucking crab on a beach with handmade spears from a toothpick and a fucking grass leaf is fucking so impeccable. You can't get over it. It would be a great movie. It would be one of those movies you could show your kids. You'd be proud. Mind you, it doesn't have the hoo-cow, like hot chick, big titty girls that I want to see from cosplay, but it gives me a fucking mouse fighting a crab on a beach. I'm fucking happy. It's a fucking great graphic novel. And if you haven't read it, go read it.
What is the title?
Mouse Guard.
All right, I'm gonna have to, because I don't know if you've ever read or seen the movie Watership Down, but that was my favorite book.
I love those fucking rabbits,
yeah.
And I love that giant. I can't remember the name of the sun right now. Is Soul or like the whole intro is just the sun in the sky, and he's talking about it, and he names himself. But that is relatable to that. So if you like that, yes,
that was
good
my
call
favorite
out,
book. I've read it like 4, 5, 6 times. I watched it as a kid, which thinking back probably wasn't a good, age appropriate movie, but I loved it. I obviously turned out okay, I guess. But that was one of my favorites. And they did an amazing job turning it into an animated series. I think it was all completely accurate except for one scene, which we don't really have to get into, but there was this one scene where the other rabbits are trying to trick them into living in the farm so that they get caught in the traps. It was.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to talk about the scene where they're biting each other and they kill each other.
No.
Because I'm all about that scene too.
Well, no, I'm just saying the book was so well done into the movie that they didn't take any parts out except for this one part, and they were still in there. It just wasn't as long, so they did it. Yeah,
it wasn't as in depth. Yeah. They didn't really get to the fucking carrot of the situation. Yeah. No pun intended. But it was the point. Like
it was just so well, made that it's something that I would have made for my comic book. You didn't take anything of importance out. You got all the good stuff in there. You got the character development. It was just such a good freaking movie and book and everything.
All right, Jake. So my top 5, and I'm not going to put them in any particular order. I'm going to go Watchmen. I already mentioned one of them, Miles Morales, Straight Outta Brooklyn. Hellboy, Seed of Destruction. I'm going to go with Sin City, obviously. I love Sin City. And then I'm going to go with, and I'm excited for this one because it's going to become a Disney Plus, and they're probably going to fuck it up, but Daredevil Born Again. Daredevil Born Again was a phenomenal Frank Miller one.
The only one I regret not putting on the list is the Ronin series for Ninja Turtles, but I don't know. There's that weird line, and I want to ask you this last question, Carissa, for me. what is the line drawn between a comic book and a graphic novel? Because there are so many people in the world that argue against, like, it's just a giant comic book, or it's, like because I want to put Ronin on the list, but to me it's a comic book, and I understand I'm like faltering on the sense of what the definition is, but to you, somebody who draws a graphic novel, what is the definition of that
Technically,
against a comic book?
she writes a graphic novel.
So
I just need to put you in your place. There we go.
I guess the technical, because I did look it up. So the technical term is that it's supposed to be, it's supposed to not be open ended. It's supposed to be closed. It's supposed to be one complete story and one complete book. That's why our graphic novel is book 1. It's 7 issues, and then you could stop. You miss out, but there's that. So technically, it's supposed to be a longer story than a comic, more in depth, more money usually spent on the art. And you're supposed to have upgraded paper, but my floppies have the 8-pound glossy paper anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But our graphic novel is 230 pages, so it's a little bit longer than most, but we enjoy that. Anyway,
Carissa's smarter than me. I was gonna say one's thin and in a little store, and the other one people like put on a shelf and feel more important with. But I fucking
I want to agree with you there, Jake, because Carissa, you've been a phenomenal guest.
Thank you.
Just a great guest. This is a great product that you have here. This is one that's entertaining. I think for people who are just fans of great storytelling, that this is a wonderful opportunity for them to just get, like Jake says, just dive deep into the story and just get enveloped into it. And I think that this is a great opportunity. So as we close here, can you tell people again? I know we've said it already, but can you tell people again where they can find the book, what options they have for it, and how they can support your cause?
Great. So you guys are great for my ego, so I love it. But you can find me. We do have a website. It's worthychaoscomics.com. But the best way to support and the best way to get the comic book is through Kickstarter. We literally have a Kickstarter every other month. We release a comic every 8 weeks. So we're on a really fast schedule for indies, apparently, which I didn't know, but apparently I'm fast. But on our Kickstarter this time, it'll be issues 1 through 5. You can always get past issues. We always let people get things. We have a ton of add-ons to get. You can just go to Kickstarter and search Worthy Chaos, where we pop right up. We also have a Facebook group, Worthy Chaos. You can go on there and you get to see art ahead of time. We are huge supportive of other indie creators, so all indie people can come on. Artists can display their work in our group, and indie people are allowed to post when their Kickstarter goes off. Because I support as many as I can. I've backed so many because I just love the community. I'm very lucky to be part of this community. But we have a Kickstarter from starting June 20th. We have another Kickstarter for issue 6 that comes out August 15th. And then our graphic novel and our last issue for book 1 comes out October 3rd. So you don't have to wait long, though I have been told I should release every month, and I would. I worry people can't afford it every month. But technically I could. My artist is super fast and we're already written. So yeah. But Kickstarter is the best way. And like I said, even if you just $5, you get a graphic novel. I mean, you get a longer issue. You get a black and white version and a colored version. And our stretch goal are for 1,300, which we usually reach pretty quickly, hopefully. We always add on to the free PDFs. So every issue we release, we add 4 more PDFs on. So this time for $5, if we reach our first stretch goal, then you will get an additional 16 issue 1s for PDFs from other indie other indie groups of the same genre. So we have some anime, but mostly the horror genre. So for $5, you can get about 17 PDFs.
I'm glad to hear that, because for $5, B-Word's been hoping somebody would get him extra 4 on a goal for growth, because sometimes
I mean,
you
I could
grow
use an
4
extra
more.
4. If all I
That's what I'm
have is
saying.
4, I could use an extra 4. I mean,
I hope it's
just wanna
4
throw
more
it out
for you,
there.
because I feel that's the perfect amount for you. Like 6, maybe too many. 2, still not enough. Like you're
I'll
still playing
take
with
what
you got.
I'll take whatever I can get, to be honest with you. So
Good. All right, good. I'm
well, with
glad.
that, Corissa, thank you so much for being a phenomenal guest. We really enjoyed chopping it up with you tonight. I really wish you the best with this project, and we look forward to see your continued success. And with that, Jake, what do you got for us?
Thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized. This is Jake from the Bleach Bros podcast, and thank you for listening to today's episode. I want to bring to your attention our Linktree. Visit Linktree/Bleach Bros podcast for access to all of our socials, merch, and streaming sites. Linktree is linktr.ee/Bleach Bros podcast, all one word. And if you enjoy our content, make sure to give us a like, give us a review on whatever platform you are listening on, and also invite your friends.